Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mr. H on YouTube, and today we're going to be talking about what was America like before World War II and why was it such a controversy to get involved with the Allied response to Hitler's Germany and Imperial Japan. Before I begin, go ahead and like and subscribe to Mr. H on YouTube for more social studies and math videos. Let's get right into it. Of course, the United States was going through one of the greatest economic disasters in their country's history. This is, of course, the Great Depression. Massive unemployment, job loss, as well as the end of a relative period of economic stability in the 1920s led to a reluctance to get involved in world events. Just seeing that as the United States was no longer receiving a lot of international money from trade, protectionist measures had led to a lot of people thinking that the United States needs to worry about itself. This was a form of isolationism. The United States was in a huge economic rut, and even the New Deal, which President Roosevelt had used to try to counter the Depression, was really only half measures and not enough to end this great economic calamity. The United States was still in the throes of the Great Depression for the entirety of the 1930s. The New Deal, with its new job opportunities and protection plans designed by Franklin Roosevelt, was popular amongst the people. It was seen as the government was doing something, and it gave Roosevelt truly a lot of political mandate. This, of course, leads to his landslide victory in 1936. This was truly a good time to be Roosevelt, as it showed him that he had not only the popular mandate, but the political mandate to really run the country in the way that he thought would be the best. The Democrats were still in control of the government, and Roosevelt, having really good relationships with Prime Minister, soon-to-be Prime Minister Winston Churchill, knew the situation that England and the rest of Europe was in, and also knew that it would come down to the United States would need to be involved in world affairs, that they would have to break out of their isolation relatively soon. This was not a very popular sentiment. Roosevelt was having to compete against a growing movement in the United States, which was known as the America First movement. This was a group, primarily a conservative group, not just Republicans, but also some Democrats who were in complete opposition to any intervention by the United States in world affairs. This was the same group that had blocked the United States' entrance into the League of Nations and had counseled past presidents in the 1920s to a more isolationist policy. Isolationist meaning that they would not use the American army and American military and manufacturing might to dictate terms to other nations. Roosevelt, on the other hand, was part of a group that wanted intervention and knew that intervention was key to the United States' national security as well as the security of the world. These two ideologies begin clashing in the later half of the 1930s as Hitler in Japan and Mussolini and Italy begin their expansion and begin the clouds of war gathering. Most Americans see an inevitable second war coming. And there were two big sides to this debate. Were you on the Roosevelt isolationist side, the Roosevelt interventionist side, or were you on the isolationist side? And of course, the American First Committee continued to hearken to past policies by the United States that kept them out of international debate and international events. But the magnitude and scale of World War II made it more and more likely that Roosevelt would inevitably send troops. This leads to a very important decision that he makes where he decides to run in the 1940 election, breaking the precedent of a president serving only 2 terms. The economic situation had improved, but Roosevelt loses support in some areas due in no small part to his continued belief in United States interventionism and his friendly relations with the Allies. This loses support for him in several areas where isolationism was key. But this idea of intervention and this idea of the United States moving forward comes to a head in 1941 with major world events shaping the course of American history and taking, of course, the whole country into a global conflict. But what do you think? Do you think the United States should have been interventionist or isolationist? Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Mr. H on YouTube for more content like this. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.